had never run a road race before, and I never thought that it was something that I would want to do. And then fast forward, I moved to Atlanta. We had our first child, our daughter, and she probably was, a year or two, old. And at this time, I'm working out just to, get my body back and just to be active. And I was doing the treadmill and I'd run 30 minutes, and that was, what I would do. And a friend challenged me and said, well, you've been really consistent with running. You should take it up to another level. And why don't you sign up for a 5K? And I was like, oh my God, a 5K. I can't even imagine. But once the seed was planted, I was like, you know what? Maybe I can. I like the challenge.
You are listening to the No Gimmicks, Just Sweat podcast with your host, Eric Logan. No Gimmicks, Just Sweat is dedicated to hearing the journeys and unique stories behind an athlete's training and what drives them. Get inspired to own your life and make the impossible possible. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe so that you never miss an episode. Also, please take a few seconds to rate the show and drop me a review. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello and welcome to this episode of No Gimmicks, Just Sweat. And today we welcome Adrian Shepherd to the show. Adrian, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, fam. How you doing?
Right. You're my cousin.
Yeah,
you are my play cousin.
Yeah, that's right. We cousins. Mm-hmm. We've known each other for years since I started running, since I began running. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think back to when we initially met, and I don't know if I believe it came about when you were running, I was running, and we'd always pop up at the same races. And I'm assuming at that point we were probably following each other on Instagram or social media. But then I found out that you are real life cousins.
Yes, with Keisha.
You're right. And she and I, connected through running and being on the same side of town. And we have a couple of, similarities, and we call each other twins. So when I found out that you guys were cousins, I was like, okay, well, you're my play cousin too. We're all going to be family.
That's right. That's right. We all fam.
Yep.
Again, thank you for coming on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to kind of start, as we do always, with a bunch of icebreaker questions, just kind of warm things up,
Okay.
Some of the stuff I already know, but your listeners might not necessarily know. And I always learn something new each time I ask these questions.
Okay.
So you ready?
Go. I'm ready.
There you go. Ready? All right. All right. Morning runs or evening runs?
Oh, morning. Absolutely.
All right. Solo runs or group runs?
Ooh. Both. Can I say both?
Yeah, you can say both.
Because I'm going to get it in on my own if I have to, but I do enjoy running with other people.
Okay. All right. What about running on the treadmill or running outside?
Outside is number one, but I will tell you this pandemic has set me back a little bit. And I've been doing more treadmill runs than outdoors, but outdoors is number one.
Okay. All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee all day.
All right. What about trail runs or road runs?
I'll have to say road runs because I've never done an actual trail run.
You've never done a trail?
I have walked, and I've done some hiking, but I've never done an actual, let me go out there and run a trail, which I want to do. So stay tuned.
Okay. Yeah, we got to get you on a trail.
Yes.
All right. What's your favorite race distance to run?
That is the 10 miler, and there aren't a lot of them.
Right.
But I find that once I kind of settle in, around mile 7, the last 3 miles are not hard, but it's not as bad as having to go to a half marathon distance. And it gives you a little bit more time on the road than say a 10K. I like the 10 miler.
Right. Okay. That's a good little distance. That's a good little distance.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's the first thing you do after a race?
Oh, take pictures. I will always take pictures, but I'll probably go look for some water or banana or something like that while I'm physically on site. When I leave, I'm probably going to go get coffee and then in search of food.
Okay. All right. What's a dream race that you want to run?
I would love to do New York. marathon.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. If you can go on a run with any celebrity or athlete, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna say Kevin Hart.
Okay.
And the reason why, I know he works out, I know, he runs, he's trained, but he would also be entertaining. And anybody that has run with me, they all know I like to talk while I'm running. They're just like, oh my gosh, Adrian, she asks these open-ended questions. I'd love to be able to run with him and laugh and talk and just have a good time, because then you don't feel like you're working.
And the run will be over with quick.
And the run will be over with. So yeah, Kevin Hart.
All right, last question. Dream location anywhere in the world you want to go for a run.
Ooh, let's see. Dream location. I haven't thought about this one. Maybe maybe Hawaii along the beach.
Okay, see, we fam. See, that's my place.
Have you been?
Have not been.
No, I've never
That is
been.
one of my bucket list things to do.
Yeah, I think I would like that.
I've always said that if I ever do a full marathon, I
Hmm.
would like to do the Honolulu Marathon.
Oh yeah,
You
that would be
you
amazing.
you pretty much have the entire day. You run along the coast.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, you're not trying to race. You just running to
You're
enjoy
just
the scenery.
running, right? It would be gorgeous.
Yes.
But back this up. You said you haven't done a full marathon
No,
yet.
I've never done a full marathon.
I'm surprised.
I honestly, I have no desire to do a full marathon. That's
Well, I
never
don't
been.
think anybody ever does
I,
until they do it.
but the surprising thing is, I want to do an ultra.
Oof. Yeah.
I'm like,
Kudos.
I'm kind of like, let's see, 26 miles or 30 miles. I'm
Hmm.
like, yeah, let me just go ahead and do the 30 miles.
Well, you know what? When you look at it like that, you might as well.
Right.
You might. Why did I think it was a longer distance than that? I was thinking those 50 milers.
Well, they do. You have like,
Mm-hmm.
I think the 30 miler is around about like a 50K.
Mm-hmm.
And then you
Mm-hmm.
have the 50 milers, then you have 100 milers.
Man. Well, I don't know. So when you put it that way, maybe I could consider an ultra if it's 30.
See, there you go. Just add on those 4 more miles.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be a struggle, but it'd be a nice, have a nice ring to it when you tell people you've done it.
See, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One day.
Yeah, see, always one day. That's
One
right.
day.
We're still young. We still do.
Exactly. Yeah, there's still time.
All right. So let's talk about you. What is
Hmm.
your story? How did you become the runner, the athlete that you are today? Again, as I tell everyone, you are a superhero, and this is your origin story. You're sharing it to the world.
Okay. Let me think. I don't know if I've ever considered myself like an athlete. Middle school, being, when I was young, I didn't do a lot of sports. I don't think I really got involved in doing anything until I was in high school. And I ran track, I was a cheerleader. But that was the extent of it. And I enjoyed doing track. I never did anything long distance. I ran the 400, the 4x4. I do the 200. Um, but even with that, I was doing it because I wanted to be involved. I was good, but I don't think I wasn't like the greatest. But I was, an asset to the team, I guess I'd say. you know, they didn't kick me off. But then going into college, I didn't play sports there. So working out for me was something that I do just, oh, I should probably go to the gym. Oh, I should probably do a workout. And, occasionally when I'd go home to visit my family over the breaks, my dad and I would go out and we'd run together. And so I enjoyed spending that time with him. But, all this time I had never run a road race before. And I never thought that it was something that I would want to do. And then fast forward, I moved to Atlanta. We had our first child, our daughter, and she probably was, a year or two, old. And at this time, I'm working out just to, get my body back and just to be active. And I was doing the treadmill and I'd run 30 minutes and that was, what I would do. And a friend challenged me and said, well, you've been really consistent with running. You should take it up to another level. And why don't you sign up for a 5K? And I was like, oh my God, a 5K. I can't even imagine. But once the seed was planted, I was like, you know what? Maybe I can. I like the challenge. And so when was it? 2010, Labor Day, 2010, I ran my first 5K race.
Okay.
And after I did that, I can't even begin to explain how excited and hyped up and proud of myself I was. It was I wish I could bottle that feeling and get it back because I felt so amazing. And so after that Labor Day run, by the time Thanksgiving came around, I was running my first half marathon and I was just hooked. And I haven't stopped since. I just really found that I enjoyed being out there, and every mile that you add on after, say, your first 5K, you're like, oh my gosh, I can do, 4 miles, I can do 5. I remember the day I ran 9 miles for the first time. There's always a way that you can improve. And I like that idea, and can I do this? Can I do that? Well, why not? And so that's how I ended up where I am now. And that just sort of, evolved into, other physical activities. But I think the thing is that I do enjoy being physically active. I like moving.
Okay. Yeah. Movement is good. People don't realize that with movement, movement is life. That's one of the things when people get older, doctors always recommend that you got to keep moving.
Yeah.
Because, once you stop moving, it's like you're giving up.
Yeah. So I always like to have something I'm doing. It may not be the same activity all the time, but, I challenge people to find something that you do enjoy and keep at it, because like you said, moving is really key.
Right. So how many races can you remember that you've done since 2010? Or have you just lost count?
I try to keep up with it. It's not something that I can easily recite. I know that having just run the Peachtree Road Race earlier this month, I think that may have put me at 11 10K races.
Okay.
But, half marathons are double digits. I've done several full marathons. I feel like I may have one, maybe 2 more full marathons in me. 5Ks, I can't even count. And I guess what's different about me is that I don't race every race that comes across the board.
Right.
I have my favorite races that I tend to do each year. There's a cluster of them that I do every year, and I may throw in some other ones that come about or that people may mention, but I don't want to race every weekend. I have a family. It's just not feasible. I'll work out weekend, but the process of getting to a race and registering and all of that is not something I want to do. So ideally a race once a month, and I may miss a month.
Right. So what are your favorite races?
I love the Atlanta Track Club's PNC, their 10-miler, which is typically in October. So I always do that. I usually will do the Publix race series. That was my very first full marathon here in Atlanta. And I've done the half marathon many times. I've done the 5K as well. So Publix, which is in the first quarter of the year, is one that I do often. Again, Peachtree Road Race, I make it a point to run that 10K. This would have been my 11th year, I believe, with Peachtree. I always do Thanksgiving. I like the half marathon there. I've done that one for years. I've done the race, which, when is that? August, September?
The race is October.
Is it October?
Yeah, I think it's October.
I've been doing that the past few years as well, but I only do the 5K because that half marathon course has me looking at it like, you don't want that. So I always do the 5K. And you know what? That race is great because I get to see so many people that I don't typically see. And they come from out of town. And it's, like they say, it's like a family reunion. So that one's a good one.
So you're complaining to Tess about the heels?
Well, the heels, because the 5K is no joke either. The 5K is hilly as well. But don't tell Tess I said that. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, and I asked that initial question about how many races you've done because you can really tell people who really love running and participating in races, they really stop counting.
Yeah.
They just kind of like, you know what, these are races that I love doing and I just do them every year.
Yeah. And usually when the race is coming around again, I kind of reflect back and I may look back and see, how many I've done previously. But, in the 12 years that I've been doing the road races, those are the ones that I can kind of guarantee that I'm going to do most years. And I don't travel a lot for races. So a lot of my races are local races right here in Atlanta. I have traveled for races, but those typically would be my marathons. And, so I tend to keep it close to home.
Okay. Have you ever considered doing something like a duathlon or a triathlon?
I have. Not a try because, I can't really swim. But who knows? That could change.
Right.
But a duathlon I've thought about as well. But I need to get I have a bike, but I've never taken it out on the road. And I've had it for several years now. Okay. Part of the reason is that I feel like I'd feel more safe on a path or a trail somewhere, in regards to like car traffic.
Right.
And I haven't equipped my vehicle to transport a bicycle anywhere. So I just haven't done it. It's on my to-do list, but I probably need to make a conscious effort to get my bike checked out, get all the gear that I think I would need in order to ride, and then figure out how to incorporate it into training. I would love to do a duathlon.
I'm going to highly recommend the Callaway Gardens Sprint. That's usually every June. That is a perfect beginner duathlon.
Because you've done so many.
Just like people run races regularly, I do duathlons regularly.
Yeah.
Once a month.
So I've just jotted that down, and I may come back to you. I probably need somebody to prod me. Adrian, have you, had your bike checked out? Do you have your gear? Are you planning to get some rides in?
Consider yourself prodded then. I will be
seriously, stay after me.
But between now and next June.
So the sprint, let me ask you this, and then we could move on. But the sprint distance on the bike and on foot, what are they?
So you're initially looking at like maybe a mile and a half first run, 8 to 9 mile bike ride, which is for that one is really through Callaway Gardens. So you're pretty much staying within the park. And then the last run is generally I'm doing air quotes now, a 5K.
Okay.
But it might be not quite at the 3 miles, like 2 point, whatever miles.
I think that's something I could do.
It is.
I'm going to make that.
You can do it.
I am going to make that my next challenge. I like challenges.
Okay. Well, since we're recording, I have evidence now. So I have the proof now.
You got the receipts now.
There you go.
And you say it's in June. Okay. That gives me a year, a little less than a year to get my life together.
See, there you go. Boom. And listeners, you heard it here. She has committed to this.
I've committed to it.
All right. All right. So let's talk about your training. So what does a week of training look like for you? How do you fit it in to your schedule?
Well, going back to the questions you asked at the beginning of our session, I'm an early person. And so 95% of my workouts are done first thing in the morning between 5 and 6 a.m. start time.
Okay.
Part of that's because I just wake up early. Part of that is that I have other responsibilities, taking kids to school, getting to work. And so it just works for me. And I know that I won't have to worry about whether or not I get my workout in if I'm, not having to fit it in the afternoon. Um, I probably work out at least 5 days a week. I'm doing something every day, but on those other, day or two, it could just be some stretching. It could just be, meditation. But I go between running on the tread or outside and riding my bike, my stationary bike, my Peloton at home. And I alternate days, and then I throw in strength training as well. So depending on how much time I have, it could be a 30-minute ride and maybe, 20-minute weights, or, a 30-minute run, and throwing in, some stretching or strength training after that. I mix it up, and I kind of mentally do a check each morning to see, how I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I have a race that's coming up, back in, November, October, November, I had a half marathon coming up. So I knew that I needed to get miles in, outside on my feet. So a lot of my training happened, outdoors, and just trying to increase my mileage so I would be ready to run, my half marathon.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like you're pretty much self-trained, self-coached.
To a certain extent.
Okay.
When I started running, and after I did that first 5K, my husband introduced me to a friend that he was like, hey, this guy has really, gotten into running. You may want to hit him up. And so I did the majority of my runs. He really introduced me to road, running. And I did the majority of my training runs and a lot of my races, my first marathon with him, which was really helpful. Um, I had an injury about 6 years ago. I had a stress fracture and bilateral shin splints, and I couldn't run. And at that point in time, and I just did a pivot. I took some swimming lessons. I don't think they really stuck, but I took some swimming lessons. But what I learned at that particular time was that the only thing that I was doing was running. I ran any time anyone asked me to. That's all I did. I wasn't doing any strength. And that pressure that I was putting on myself, I realized I needed to find more balance. And so at that time, um, I got with a personal trainer. And for a couple of years or so, she and I, it's a small group. She really got me into strength training, which I think improved me overall. So there was a point in time when I was seeing a personal trainer, and I found it very beneficial. Now, and especially since I've gotten the Peloton, I do a lot of training through their platform.
Okay.
Whether it's classes that I take, I do a lot of my strength training through their platform. I will take them on my outdoor runs. So I'm always doing something Peloton related, just about every day. That is guided, but I'm still by myself.
Okay. So since you brought up Peloton, let's talk about Peloton.
Okay, let's talk about Peloton.
Oh, she jumping into it. Let's talk about Peloton. And let me start by saying we are not sponsored by Peloton.
No.
This is us. We are actual Peloton owners. So
Yes.
there's no. This is not necessarily an endorsement, so to speak.
Correct. Correct.
So
However,
yeah. However, all right. So what got you into Peloton?
so I'm gonna tell you, before the Peloton, I probably can count on my hands the number of times I've gone to the gym and gotten on a stationary bike, or actually gone to a studio and taken a spinning class. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's just not. I was just always running, right? But during the pandemic, I'm home now. I'm not
Right.
going to my group training, anymore. I'm on the treadmill, but it very solitary. And around that time, I just started hearing more and more about it. And I was just like, oh, is this something that I would want to invest my money in? Would I actually use it? but I just kept hearing so many positive things about it. And so I threw it out there as a gift idea to my husband, not thinking that he would actually bite. You know how you throw things out there and they're just like, okay, yeah, moving on. But he
We
was like,
listen. We
yeah,
listen.
I guess. See, I was very surprised, but he was just like, okay. And so that was my Christmas gift, maybe, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. And I've loved it ever since. I am slightly competitive. So I do enjoy the leaderboard, but I don't live by a leaderboard. I do my own things and I'm not, reckless in that sense. But knowing that you're a part of a community, and that there's so many offerings on the platform, I love it. Like, I would recommend it to just about everybody, because a lot of people think, oh, it's just a bike, or oh, it's just a treadmill. But like I said, you can do yoga, meditation. I did bar the other day on it,
Oh,
which I
okay.
love bar. So it's plenty to do. And the music, I like the music.
So who are your favorite instructors on Peloton?
Let's see. So I like Hannah Frankson, the one in London.
Okay. Yep.
I enjoy Robin.
Okay.
I like Alex, but he goes too hard for me sometimes. So I'm just like, you know what, Alex, I'm not feeling you today. But I like Tunde, and I love Tunde because she's just so strong. And I feel like if I take her class, I know I'm going to work,
Right.
you know. But I have my favorites on the tread as well. I like Matt Wilpers. I like him on the bike also. I like him on the tread. He's kind of, our Atlanta local person. So I enjoy hearing him speak. Um, who else? Olivia, Rebecca. I love most of them.
Okay.
Hmm. Who do you like?
Well, pretty much most of the ones that you named, but
Hmm.
also like Kendall.
Oh yeah, Kendall's good.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Kendall's good. Jess King is pretty good.
Oh, and Jess Sims for just
Yes.
just about everything. She's a beast. I like
Yes.
her.
Yes.
Hmm.
And pretty much, like I said, I haven't used the running part of it yet. So mine's
Hmm.
mainly the bike. And, I
Okay.
do a lot of the stretching, and I've done meditation,
Yes.
and, I've been tempted to start doing the yoga.
Yes. Now, I'm not going to lie though. I will take yoga and I will do meditation, but I really enjoy activities where I'm really moving, that feel hard, where I'm sweating.
Right.
And sometimes I lose focus in meditation. I lose focus in yoga, even though I know I should be doing it. I'm not the best student. I'm not really great at sitting still. So if you tell me to go out there and run around and jump, I'm all for it. Just sitting there, it's hard for me to do. So I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Sounds like a little ADD.
Maybe, or I just like, what, when I don't have a lot of time and I'm doing something, I really want to feel like I've used the time to the, best of my ability. And to me, that means I'm exhausted and I'm sweating and I can physically see the work that I've done. And you don't really see that in yoga and meditation,
Right.
although they, obviously they're great for you. So I just need to get over that maybe.
Right. You're full of energy,
Yes, yes.
and not to say anything negative about ADD, but
No,
you're
no,
just
no,
full of
no.
energy.
I just have a
Yeah.
lot of energy, and I just like to feel like I've spent it once I'm done with my activity.
Right. Right. All right. So, as a runner, or I mean, even an athlete, how do you find balance? Because that's something we all struggle with. So
Hmm.
how do you manage to stay balanced and calm? You work a job. You're a
Right.
wife. You're a mother. How do you balance all
Hmm.
that out with running?
Well, I guess for, for running, for exercise, I make it a priority, and I've made the priority known to my family. You know, I can shift a lot of things around, but that time in the mornings or when I'm doing my races is really for me. It makes me feel great about myself. It makes me energized so I can go on with my day.
Mm-hmm.
So they really don't bother me about the time that I spend doing it. And I'm smart with it. I don't overdo it, you know. I go out and do what I have to do, and then I'm home and I'm available to the family. But I make it a priority. I make sure that I get it done, and I don't move it around really for anything. Um, and so I guess within working out, I try to mix it up a little bit, so that I don't get bored. And I just enjoy doing the things that I love. And if that means maybe doing it and um, coupling that with inviting a friend, so that now not only am I working out, but I'm also getting in, say, girl talk, or catching up with a friend while we're on the pavement, then I'll do it that way as well, you know?
Okay. So, what is your inspiration? Is there something that inspires you to keep going daily?
hmm One, it just feels good. But two, I had my kids, in my 30s. So I'm not, a spring chicken or anything. And one thing that's important to me is being able to be active with my kids, to be energized and fun.
Hmm.
And, when they want to go places and do things, I'm up for it and I have the energy to do it. And I don't want to ever feel hindered because I'm not physically fit. And physically fit doesn't mean that I'm super strong or, I can, run for hours, but having that mentality of being fun and energetic. I want to be that type of parent for my children. And
Right.
that's probably my main inspiration. It's not necessarily to to run a certain race
Right.
or to achieve a certain time, but to be physically fit so that I feel good and I can hang out and do fun things with my family.
Look, that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
hmm Yeah, and that's attainable.
Yes.
Maybe me winning a race or whatever and placing in a race might not be attainable for me at any particular time, but I can always be at a level where I can hang out with my family and have a good time, and there's nothing hindering me.
Right. Again, like I said, that's what it is. By at the end of the day,
hmm
basically when you have family, your spouse, your kids, and I mean
hmm
even your older family members.
Yes.
Being able to be there for them.
Yes.
That's what it boils down to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the life that we're all living right now, like you said, we're parents, we're working, we're spouses, we have other activities that we're involved with, and that takes energy.
Yes. Yes.
And working out, yeah, you tire yourself out, but you are making space so that you have room and have energy to carry on and take care of these, the responsibilities that we have day in and day out. I find that when I'm not doing anything at all, when you just say, oh, I'm gonna just take a day and just do nothing, I feel so sluggish. Doing
Mm-hmm.
nothing
Yeah.
makes me not want to do anything. I don't like feeling that way,
Right. You're not the only one. You're not the
you
only one.
know?
I feel the same way too.
Yeah, yeah, I just, that's fine for some people. It just doesn't work for me.
Right.
I'm not good at that. So
But you have to have those forced rest days so your body recovers. It's like, okay,
yes.
today's a rest
Mm-hmm.
day. I gotta let my body
Mm-hmm.
recover.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So, what is your current go-to running shoe?
I wear Brooks, and I've been wearing glycerin. I've recently acquired Ghost. And so I've been wearing those for a couple of weeks now, which I enjoy as well. But usually I can find when I find something that I like, I stick with it until it doesn't work anymore. So when I first began running, I used to run in Asics, and then I may have tried a pair of Adidas, or something else in between, but it was mostly Asics. But several years back, I switched to the Brooks, and I've been happy with those. I
Okay.
like I need cushion. I
Okay.
have a neutral foot. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have anything, you know, specific that requires me to wear something a little bit more, specific. So those work for me.
Okay. And what's a piece of, well, not piece of equipment, but what's something that's a must have when you run that you can't live without?
My water bottle. I
Okay.
usually take a handheld, and even if I'm only running 3 miles, I know a lot of people can go without water for 3 miles. I probably can. I choose not to. I like to sip, and I like to be prepared. I don't want to be caught out there, and something could go wrong, and my 3 miles could turn into to six. And so I always have my handheld.
Okay. So this is a two-part question here.
Hmm.
First part, your proudest moment as a runner, and the second part, your worst moment or biggest mistake as a runner.
Hmm. Proudest probably would have been when I completed my first marathon, the Publix full marathon, however many years ago it was. Because like you mentioned, it wasn't necessarily a goal of mine to run a marathon, but I'm telling you, with a marathon, it's not even just the crossing the finish line. It's knowing that you put in 18 weeks approximately of training and that you stuck with it. And when I ran that, my kids were maybe, you know, 5 and 3, they were really young. So I would get up, do my weekly runs. I'd get up and do my long weekend runs, 5 o'clock in the morning, um, 17, 18 miles. And then I'd get home and they'd be ready to go. You know, I'd shower, I'd do an ice bath or whatever, and they'd be ready to walk the mall, go here, go there. And I just have to do it. Really
Right.
what you want to do is lay down in your bed and just, after running all those miles, but I couldn't. So after 18 weeks of that and knowing that I'd actually completed the training for the race and I completed the race, I was so proud of myself. I was happy. I was in tears.
I
I was in
bet you
tears.
were. I
That
bet you were. It's
that was
over. It's over.
yeah. I mean, you just feel such accomplishment, and I I I I wish again, you could bottle up that feeling, but doing that let me know that anything is possible. Anything that I set my mind to do, I can plan for it and I can do it because I never thought I'd run, 9 miles, 10 miles, let alone 26.2. And I
Right.
did it.
Right.
And I've done it several times. And so, I take that into other aspects of my life. When I'm faced with a challenge at work or whatever, I think back, I'm like, you know what? There, you can do this. I like to think, and I tell people this all the time, nobody else out here is better than me. They're no better than me. They
Right.
train for it, they do the work for it. Why do I think they can do it and I can't do it?
Exactly.
So I don't think anything is impossible. You do your work, and I see a lot of people get sidetracked because they plan to run, they plan to train, but they don't have anybody to do it with, or their partner bailed out. I'm sorry, if I know that I have a goal and I've committed to that goal, then if said training partner can't be there to run with me, guess what? I'm gonna have to figure it out and run it on my own, because
That's right.
when it's race day, nobody can run it but me.
Right.
Nobody can do it but me. And so I want to be prepared for that. Why I'm not going to go out there unprepared and thinking that the race is just going to happen. Uh-uh. So whether you're with me or you're not, these are my goals. These are the things that I'm going to do, and I'm going to accomplish it.
You go, sister. You go with your bad self.
Hey.
All right.
Yeah.
Now we got to talk about the second part of that question. Your biggest mistake, or the worst moment as a runner.
I think the biggest mistake, and I mentioned it earlier, was the only thing I did was run.
Mhm.
I didn't allow for rest. I didn't do any type of strength, and I just ran, ran, ran. And yeah, okay, I felt good in running, conditions. But it wasn't healthy for me. And after being injured, it made me realize that there's a lot more to being fit than just being stuck in a rut doing the same thing over and over again. You need to be more well-rounded. And it took me, being injured, to really recognize that. And so that would have to be probably the biggest mistake, not incorporating other areas of fitness.
Okay. And I think that's what it happens to everybody when they start off. You start off running and you think, okay, I just need to run.
Yeah.
Because that's what I just need to run. And you kind of don't look at, strength training. You don't look at any type of cross training. You don't look at recovery,
Right.
You just like,
Right.
okay, I want to run, and I'll run. I'll rest when I get to sleep.
Yeah. And for some people can do that. Some people can run, 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 run. I'm not set up that way.
Right. Exactly.
I'm not set up that way. And, for me, if you know better, you do better. And so I'm just trying to do better. But what's interesting is that once I started switching it up and incorporating other things, I still only have the same amount of time to train. I still only have the same number of days, to go work out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, which day do I run? Which day do I do this? I can't spend hours in the gym or hours, training. I found that, say, when I was focused on time for my races, I wasn't hitting those times anymore because I just didn't have, the capability of strength training and running and still being great. So then I had to figure out what was more important to me, to be healthy or to have, hitting all these time goals. And
Right.
that's a mental, readjustment. When you get out there and you run, you're like, oh, I used to be able to run this race in this time, and now I'm a little bit slower. But I've come to terms with that because regardless, I'm not winning the race, and I'm not out there to win the race. I'm out there to do my miles and to have a good time. And so that was a mental shift for me over the last few years, just get my priorities in order when it comes to that, and that's just personal.
Okay. So knowing what you know now in life, we have wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell your younger self if you can go back into a time machine?
You know what? I mean, just as far as like fitness and running.
Yes, or just life in
Mm-hmm.
general.
I probably would have run more when I was younger.
Okay.
That's when you have less responsibility and more time, right?
Right.
I remember, I think I was in the 10th or 11th grade, and I went out for cross country, and I went out one time and I said, I'm not doing this again. But look where I am now, When I look back, I was like, oh, I probably could have done it, but I just didn't think that I could. And I was like, that's a lot of work,
Right.
a lot of running. So probably doing more running in my younger years when I was, able to say do it better or do it more. Um, yeah, I guess that's it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And
So,
to really go after what you want. I've noticed
yes.
that sometimes I have a tendency to not I talk myself out of things.
Okay. Okay.
I do that even now. I do that. I'm very good. If you and I are, say, running together, Eric, and you say, okay, Adrian, keep going, let's do this, I'm gonna keep doing it because I'm great at following a plan. I'm great at following instructions. I'm great
Mm-hmm.
at motivating people and being motivated by others. But I tell you, if it's just me, sometimes I have a tendency to talk myself out of those things. And so building my mental strength is something that I'm continuing to work on. But maybe I could have been doing that years ago and I'd be in a different place today.
Okay.
So,
Okay. That's something to consider. Okay. It's good.
mm-hmm.
All right. So, what is a non-running fact about you that most people don't know?
Oh, a lot of people know this, I think, but I love to read. I love to
Okay.
read. I love going out to eat. I think a lot of people think that I am a very social person, but I mean, really, I'm an introvert, you know, and I don't mind being alone. I prefer being, you know, by myself or in small groups.
Right.
A lot of times going to these races, I'm mentally preparing myself just to have the energy to socialize, you know, pre and post race. Um, so I think a lot of people may see me and think that I'm a very social person, but really only with people I'm comfortable with.
Okay. That's something new I did not really know.
See, you probably thought that I was, you know.
I did not know that. Again, I always learn something new about it. You know.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
I'm shy. I can be really shy.
You shot? Nah.
You know, and I'm gonna tell you this, and I've mentioned this to other people who have the same reaction. I've always been shy growing up, but I also recognize that in order to function, I can't continue to be shy in, you know, various social settings.
Right.
And so I learned then to push myself to do things that made me feel uncomfortable. It's probably one of the reasons why, you know, say I was a cheerleader, or why I did some of the activities in school that I did, because I felt like doing them would teach me certain skills and would benefit me later on. So I can do these things. They're not necessarily easy for me, and they're not something that I always choose to do, but you know, I will do them if I need to.
Okay. Okay. All right. So what's next for you? Are you training for anything now? You getting ready for any races?
So what's funny, I did my first Tough Mudder this year, which you know is a
Yes.
obstacle course race. This one was a 5K, and it's something actually that you know, I like the idea of it because it's wild and crazy and it's physical, right? And a lot
Right.
of those obstacles you don't necessarily train for. You go out there and you do them. And so I've always been intrigued with the idea, but never really had anyone who was up to doing it with me. You know, some people are afraid of getting muddy. Some people are just like, I'm not, you know, trained for that. And I've always just kind of been like, well, why not? But anyways, up until this point, I hadn't been able to find anybody to do it with until the spring. And a girlfriend got some people together for a birthday type event. And I went out there and I loved it. It was muddy, it was wet, it was hot, it was tiring, it was hard. There was a lot of teamwork with the people you were with and with total strangers. All of it I loved, but I hurt my knee doing one of the obstacles. I was climbing out of this mud pit and somehow tweaked my knee and I felt it pop. And so, fast forward now, I've still been working out and running, but I've been injured. And come to find out, I had a MCL sprain.
Oh wow.
So I'm just getting back. I mean, I can run now, but of course, there were weeks where I hadn't been able to run. So I'm trying to get back to, you know, a certain level. Although I maintained being active, let's just put it that way. I just hadn't been able to be as active. Um, but there are races that I plan on doing even this summer and into the fall. Some of the ones that I mentioned to you earlier when we were talking. So uh, I have, I think, a 4 miler I plan on doing. I may be doing another 10K, I think, in August. Um, I don't have any half marathons planned for 2022, although before I got injured, I was contemplating trying to find something late in the fall or winter. But at this point, I don't think I'm going to be able to commit to it. So hopefully a marathon in 2023.
And duathlon.
And a duathlon, of course, that look, let me refer back to my notes. Yes, Callaway Gardens.
Yeah.
Yes, next summer. Next summer.
All right. You got any last words you want to share with the listeners?
I just feel like get up and move something. You know, nobody says that you have to be, you know, the best at it. You only need to be your best self. And that's all I try to do every day is to be my best self. So whatever it is that you're thinking of doing, give it a try. Either you're going to like it or you're not going to like it. You may be great at it, you may not be great at it, but you never know unless you try. And that's how I feel about a lot of things. Try it.
Yeah. Great advice. Couldn't say it better myself.
Thank you.
Well, Adrian, thank you for coming on to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. This was fun,
Yeah.
and to talk about all the things that I love to do. So
All right.
thank you, Eric.
You're welcome. You're most definitely welcome. So, how can people get in contact with you if they want to kind of follow you, or reach out?
Mhm. Yeah, I am on Instagram mostly. You can reach me there at Sky Miles 101, and that's SkyyeMiles 101. And hit me up, follow me. I'd love to follow back and see your journey.
All right. Again, Adrian, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have an awesome day.
All right, you too. Take
All
care.
right. You too. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the No Gimmicks, Just Sweat podcast. We really appreciate everyone who tunes in each week. If you enjoyed today's show, please support us by subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember to tell your friends about the No Gimmicks, Just Sweat podcast, so we can continue to have awesome conversations with everyday athletes just like you. Until next time, have an amazing week.